We are live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. I've been quiet for a couple of days. Well, I'm never really quiet. I just haven't been on radio in a couple of days, but just too much stuff. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'll be back on the radio tomorrow, but I just couldn't wait. I don't want a story to get too much age on it and it not be relevant by the time I get a chance to talk about it. And man, we have a couple that I want to hit, and I'm going to hit them again in the morning, but I wanted to hit them now too. And who knows, my mind may change on them in the morning. So I just wanted to hit them while they were hot. I made a little video yesterday about this Jackson City Council banning its employees from having any affiliation with dope dealers. Oh, y'all know, at the end of the day, this show, my platform, everything, it was built on LOL Jackson. And when a story like this comes across, and look, y'all might not believe it, but I've taken it really easy on Jackson since the new mayor came in, John Horn, and I'm giving him a chance to get everything situated. I have nothing negative to say about John Horn and the job that him and his administration are doing. I've taken it super duper easy on him. I really have. And I've taken it easy on Jackson. Now I'm going to call out stupid shit when I see stupid shit. That's just what I do. But if y'all will notice, I've been going way hard and heavy on Rankin County, way more than I have Jackson. And it's caused a much bigger pain in my ass than just talking about Jackson. And I wish I had just never, ever said a damn word about Rankin County. But we here now and I ain't going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop. A lot of the same black for a living jackasses out here and white liberal Democrat jerk-offs that there are in Jackson. Who would have thunk it? So that's what we call out. We call out the Democrat double standard, the hypocrisy, the racism that they claim only comes from one direction. I just never seem to see it from that direction. I've only seen one Klansman in my entire life. And that's a black guy dressed up like one pretending to be me. It's a weird world out there. Let's jump into it, man. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. I get my whatever that funk I've had for a couple of days. It's not like congestion, just like inflammation in my chest. So when I talk for more than about 10 words, my chest gets really tight and I can't breathe. So I'm taking a steroid and stuff. So I don't want to waste too much time just running my mouth because we got at least an hour we got to do. So let's jump into it real quick. Men, take advantage of the free testosterone screenings at Men's Health in Mississippi. Why wait to January 1st to start your new year, new you shit? Start it now. Text Clay to 601-800-5130. Text Clay to 601-800-5130. I'll throw it up on the screen there. We'll leave that there for a minute. Let's play this video, shall we? This is from WLBT.
Thank you. Jackson City Council members passed a new ordinance that bans employees from having any relationships or dealings with.
Real quick, give me a thumbs up in the chat because I can see the chat, whether y'all can or not. I will move it to the screen after the video. Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear the audio. I can hear it in my headphones. Can y'all hear the audio?
Drug dealers. The ordinance, introduced by Ward 3 Councilman Kenneth Stokes, passed with 6 voting in favor and 1 abstaining. Stokes argues drug dealers have too much control in certain Jackson neighborhoods, and he says this move, along with state and federal backup, could help take power away from what he calls dope boys. Councilwoman Tina Clay of Ward 2 abstained. She said the message hurts Jackson's image and ignores key nuances.
Neighborhoods, some wards, they put all the crime and criminals. But in other wards, they got downtown businesses and, hospitals and those kind of things. And it's not fair.
Council President Brian Griselle raised concerns about how a dope dealer is defined, what counts as a relationship, and how the rule would be enforced.
What do you mean, how's a dope dealer defined? It's a motherfucker that sells drugs. That's how a dope boy is defined. Damn, look at the last mayor. Dope boy, allegedly, of course.
But in the end, the council pushed the ordinance through.
sorry, I cannot stand that Restream commercial that comes on after every video I play. I subscribe to Restream. It's how I stream these videos. You do not have to keep trying to sell me Restream at the end of these YouTube videos on WLBT. We use Restream proudly. It's $40 a month. It's how I send the videos from one place to everywhere all at once. Anyway, I want to read a little bit of this, and I'm going to give y'all my unfiltered thoughts and opinions on this, because y'all know I got a lot to say about it. But I think the written story is a little bit better than the video. It says, Jackson City employees will soon be prohibited from having relationships and business dealings with known dope dealers. All right, look, first off, you know your city's cooked. Look me in the eyes. My beet red face from having the heater on in this house and taking a steroid. My blood pressure's through the roof right now. Look at my beet red face. If there's ever a headline written about the city you live in or the capital city of your state that reads Jackson, let me pull the screen back up here because I don't want y'all to think I'm making this up. You can't make this shit up. Jackson bans employees from having relationships, doing business with dope dealers. Now, that should never have to be a thing. That headline shouldn't exist. Let's pull y'all's chats on the screen here. If y'all listen to my radio show, I've talked a lot about, there's a chain of gas stations called Jasco, Jasco. And I've often said that if they ever put a Jasco in your neighborhood, it's too late. Just leave. Pack what you can and get the F out. Burn the boats, as they say. Burn the bridge when you get across it. Because anybody else coming behind you that late probably ain't nobody we want on this side of the river. If they ever build a Jasco in your community, it's far, far too gone. Well, if the city has to pass an ordinance banning its employees from having relationships with dope boys or doing business with dope boys, well, then it's probably too late. You're going to have a hard time putting the paste back in the tube. I mean, it really is. Let's see here. Yeah, Chris, I see your comment here about what defines a dope boy. We'll check that out in a minute. WTOK. So this goes back to the former mayor. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, it really goes back to JPD. I said this in my short form video yesterday. And I'm not even knocking JPD. Well, some of them, absolutely. But what happens when in a crime-ridden third world hellhole like Jackson, Mississippi, and I wrote a piece on this on my website, on my Facebook yesterday. What happens is a lot of these black cops that grew up in these predominantly high crime black areas in Jackson, South Jackson, West Jackson, that's all high crime area now, but predominantly South Jackson and West Jackson and Northwest Jackson, and frankly, Northeast Jackson now too. But these high crime areas, man, look, they grew up with dope boys. I grew up with a bunch of dope boy friends. Hell, some might say that I was a dope boy. I can't confirm or deny. I don't know what the rules are and how long, what you can, admit to without, still being charged. But I wasn't always a great person. And I'm always the first to admit that. But been 15, 16 years since I've done any dumb shit like that. And there's a point where you say, hey, you know what? Count my blessings. Stepped away from that lifestyle felony free. And God bless it. Thank the Lord for getting me to the other side. So a lot of these cops and elected officials in Jackson, they grew up with dope boys. They probably got dope boys in their families. And it's hard to separate yourself from them. I mean, it really is. Especially if you still live in those communities. I get it. But there's a point where you just have to make a tough decision. Am I going to do what's best for me in this city, or am I going to still associate with dope boys and look the other way and if I pull them over and I know they're riding dirty, man, just get on out of here. But then you're not doing your job. You're a detriment. You're not only not doing your job, you're doing the damn opposite of it. You're a detriment to the city. You don't need to be a cop. Frankly, you need to be locked up and thrown away with the dope boys. But I'm not saying I ain't sentimental to it, because it is tough. But when you decided to go be a cop, you made a tough decision. You made a commitment. I mean, there's so many stories about dirty ass JPD cops and dope boys. And I mean, it was just a case a couple years ago where several JPD cops got arrested for escorting dope runs through the city in their cop cars. I ain't making it up. I'm sure most of y'all, if you're watching this, you're not hard to convince that this is going on. And then, of course, you have public officials, mainly, for example, the DA's office. I mean, you just about can't be DA, district attorney, in Jackson without having a relationship with the dope boys. I mean, I've heard stories about the DA's office that there's been times that so many dope boys are there that you don't know who works there and who doesn't. I've heard one story about, I don't remember which DA it was, Robert Schuler Smith or the current jackass that's federally indicted and going to be going to prison. Well, 99.8% chance of him going to prison. 99.9% chance. They hired one of the dope boys' girlfriends to work at the DA's office, or family members or some shit like that. You know, and then, having been in the nightclub business, I can just tell you, a lot of the guys in the nightclub business, it's money laundering. They're dope boys. Well, who is every time you look online, the last mayor of Jackson is up in these nightclubs, part owner of them. There's been constant stories about him being involved in dope. I mean, it's just Jackson politicians and police and city officials are just ripe for corruption because of their connections to the streets. I could go through my phone right now and call up 10 dope boys in Jackson that I ain't talked to in 10 years. I don't know if they still got the same number, but I'm sure I still got their numbers. You know, this shouldn't have to be a rule here, but I'm glad that it is. And I'm not hating on the city for trying to step up and clean it up. I'm glad they're doing it. And I understand the questions of, well, how do you enforce this? Now I know how you define a dope boy. That's a dumbass question. What do you define association with? Look, there's going to be some nuance here. I'm not trying to be a complete jackass about it, but it is absolutely ridiculous that it's come to this. And for years, I started this page 7 years ago. For years, I told y'all that last mayor and this city was corrupt as fuck, and that all this shit was going on. Y'all call me a liar, a racist, all this other stuff. And the day that those indictments came down, I was the most vindicated person in this city. Y'all can still call me whatever you want. It don't make it real. It don't make anything I've said a lie. So I'm not the least bit surprised that they're coming out and admitting that it's so ate up that they're having to enforce a rule. Shouldn't that just be a rule? That if you work for the city, that you probably don't need to associate with dope boys. You probably don't need to be doing business with dope boys. What they mean by that is don't go open up bars with them. Don't go into business with them. A lot of these detail shops around Jackson, those are just money laundering things for dope boys. I know how much money detail shops make. I owned a detail shop too. They don't make enough money to hire all the people they got hired. It's just a way to launder money. Nightclubs, a lot of these bars, a lot of these concert promoters booking these big shows and stuff. It's just a money laundering thing. code enforcement. These guys that work for the city in code enforcement, for the fire department, go out to these bars, to these businesses, these restaurants. You can go in them and you can tell they're not up to code. They're not enforcing the rules on the books, or they selectively enforce them because they're taking bribes. They know the people. They're scared. That's the other part that we don't talk about is these dope boys, thugs, drug dealers, gang members, whatever you want to call it, gangsters. They threaten these people and they're scared of them, and fear makes a good man do a lot of dumb shit, make a lot of bad decisions. But when you don't enforce the laws, the dope boys are going to rule the day. I'm just calling them dope boys for a catch-all here. Drug dealers, gang members, whatever. Just like La Cosa Nostra up in New York and stuff back in the day. People were scared of them. Everybody was corrupt. Everybody had a price. And some people didn't get paid at all. They just got to live. And I ain't trying to fearmonger here or nothing. I'm just making a point. I mean, this stuff is Captain Obvious shit. And I got called a liar and a racist and everything else for years for pointing it out. I told y'all, I was in the thick of it. I know how the sausage is made in Jackson. I helped make it. That's why they try to shout me down so much and make it look like I don't know what I'm talking about. Discredit me is the word I was looking for. But it doesn't make it not true. And more stories like this. I'm pointing at I got a big split screen here. I'm pointing at the news article that ain't on y'all's side of the screen. But more stories like that come out just proves what I've been saying is 100% true. And I'm not the only person that's been saying it, but I'm only going to speak for myself. I'm only going to speak for myself. All right. While we're on this topic, I want to read a couple of your comments here. I want to thank everybody first and foremost for jumping in today. Really do appreciate y'all. What's up, Justin? Watching from behind the bar up there at Martin's at Livingston. Y'all be sure to swing by there. Check out Happy Hour today. Spartacus, watching on YouTube, says, allegedly, 4th Avenue, Jaja's Rooftop Club, Taste Bar and Grill, M-Bar, gets approved for expansion, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I'm buddies with the guy, Richard Bradley, that owns M-Bar. He's a good dude, good businessman. And I want to be careful about throwing accusations around, because I've known that guy for a long time. He plays the game. He plays the game. And I'm not calling him a drug dealer or nothing like that. I do not think he's a drug dealer. But he plays the political game. And everybody, that game gets played out here in Rankin County too. You donate to the right people, and you expect shit in return. I mean, that's just the game. But it needs to be above board. It needs to be above board. What's going on? 4th Avenue is not a good neighbor. They came in, that place was like fancy schmancy, ultra lounge. And it's just a thug club dressed up as an ultra lounge when they want it to be. I ran a thug club. We didn't try to be an ultra lounge. We were a thug club, and we were what we were, and we ran it with proper security. I ain't saying shit didn't happen, but nobody ever got shot, nobody ever got stabbed, and we never ended up on the news, except for the time I brought Girls Gone Wild to town. The one time we ended up on the news. No news is good news in the bar business. But yeah, man, I could go on and on. Let's see here. Percy, Denise says, Percy Bland is the mayor in Meridian. If you don't know already, it's disgusting. And the people reflected him. He was also tied up in the murder of Christian Andriacchio, Judge Gerald Wayne Thompson's grandson. Yeah, so look, the Christian Andriacchio stuff, I interviewed his mother before I ever had a radio show. Yeah, that's a tough situation there. That's a tough situation. Spartacus says, so many new nightclubs opened during the Chokwe-Antar era. Yeah, they finally had to put a moratorium on the bar. Look, the Daiquiri Bar down on Capitol Street. Now, I know the owner. It was two owners. One got killed, which I knew him. He threw his first party ever at my nightclub. His name eludes me. And then there was the other owner. And I hate having to go after people I know, but I do it. They had that mass shooting. I think it was on my birthday 2 years ago. Or was it last year? Whatever it was, last year. It was almost a year and a half now. August 17th. I just remember it being on my birthday, or my birthday weekend anyway. Like 6 people got shot, 1 or 2 got killed. It was a legitimate mass shooting. Bunch of YN on YN bullshit. That bar should have been shut down and put on the nuisance list, because that ain't the only shit show that's happened there. But with Chokwe in charge and him being affiliated with those guys, because those are the same guys that own the strip clubs that stayed opened illegally, allegedly, throughout COVID. Meanwhile, JPD and Chokwe and them damn near ran Martin's too, but damn near ran Pops out of business and ended up forcing Jimmy to just say fuck it and sold it to those very guys that own the strip clubs and Daiquiri Bar. You don't think that you don't find that a little weird? I find that a little weird. I find that just a bit coincidental that you allow one segment of the demographic, the dope boy, allegedly, demographic, to stay open illegally because, hey, you know what? Black strip club, black mayor that likes to hang out and knock up strippers, allegedly. That's where I like to hang out. So, we'll keep this under the radar. Just open late, open up after midnight. But Pops and white folks over there, no. Them are COVID super spreaders. Let's go shut them down and harass them. Bullshit. 100% bullshit. Could you imagine out here in Rankin County, there was a black-owned establishment that was being forced to shut down, but the white wouldn't have been allowed to stay open? And then when you finally forced the black one out of business, that same white business that was in competition with it went and bought it so it could shut down or whatever. Broke them so much they were forced to sell. The Mississippi Today, the Clarion Ledger, WLBT, CNN, all of them, boy, it'd be the biggest story in America. Goon Squad. Sick of these people, man. Yeah, Neil says Pop's Bar on 43 is owned by her and the Lumumba. Nice. I don't know about Lumumba owning it. You may be 100% right, but yeah, it is owned by, man, I can't remember the dude's name that got killed. Shame on me. Knew him for years. His mom ended up taking over all his part of the ownership on all that. And yeah, they bought Pops on 43 also. Or they bought Pops and they bought the 43 Club from Derek's family when he died or right before he died or whatever it was. And then they just named it Pops on 43. All right. Let's see here. Again, man, hey to everybody in the comments. Appreciate you guys jumping in, man. I really do. Let's kick it over to this other story that I'm pretty fired up about. But anyway, just in closing, kudos to Jackson, the leadership, the current leadership. You can tell the adults are back in the room. On city council, they seem to be adulting. It seems like all the social justice bullshit, all the DEI, black for a living bullshit has come down a notch. Now, I'm not saying it ain't still. Jackson gone Jackson. You still got a DA in office that should have already stepped down. But his day's coming. July of this year, July 26th, the Hinds County trial of the century begins. Hinds County trial of the century with Chokwe and Jody and all of them. And then you got the mayor. I mean, it's just, I think I was telling Fred Shanks or somebody, it's just, you can tell that the mayor's an adult. And I wasn't a big John Horn supporter. I was pulling for I ended up pulling for him at the end there when I realized it was going to be him, but I was pulling for Kim Wade and some, combination of different people, but you got a mayor that's actually going to do it, acting mayoral. I hadn't heard John play none of that race card crap or anything. It's like he's being the mayor. I ain't heard anything about the blackest city in America, and we got to have black garbage men. We got to have black water contractors. We got to have black this, black that. I ain't heard none of that. And that's a credit to the team he's put in place around him, and a credit to him. And he's earned my respect. And that's why I've kept my foot off of him. I've given him 12 months. After going into year 2, you've done figured out where the restroom is. You've done figured out, public works. And I didn't mean to keep on ranting about this, but I want to get this off my chest. So much institutional knowledge about Jackson and the public works department retired during the Lumumba administration. And they took that institutional knowledge with them because they weren't going to pass it along to these idiots that they hired to run the public works department. Anybody that was black with a college degree of some sort just got given a job, a director job, running shit in Jackson just because they had a college degree. A college degree ain't shit. On-job experience is shit. A college degree without on-job experience ain't nothing. You can go get a doctor degree. If you don't know how to doctor, you don't get to do it. You don't get to just, there's like a whole ramp up to being a doctor, Anyway, public works, that is something that somebody has to know what they're doing. They have to have done that before. You can't just take me, for example. I wouldn't take that job because I would be terrible at it. I would fall flat on my face because I had no clue what I was doing. Hell, you could go hire the best doctor in Jackson and say, go run public works. He'd fall flat on his face unless he was able to hire and delegate. Anyway, what I hope ends up happening, and then I am going to end on this, what I hope ends up happening is they're able to bring back some of the people that retired and took that institutional knowledge just about the way the city works, the mechanics of the city, keeping the red lights working, the gutter tops, the little shit, but the heartbeat of the city. Hopefully some of those guys are willing to come back on a consultant basis or something and get the new generation of public works brought up to speed, and that institutional knowledge can be shared to the next generation. Because that is a big problem. Big problem. And I think, like, if I had to say one negative on the current mayor, get a police chief. We don't need Tyree Jones being the crime czar. He's got his hands full with Hines County. He don't need to be the JPD chief too. It's not a knock on Tyree. Nobody needs to be doing both. Why can't you find a police chief? Now, does nobody qualified want the job? That's not your fault. But you find enough money, you can find the right person to come take that job. Don't be going out 4 or 5 states away. You need to be able to find somebody. Again, institutional knowledge. Surely somebody that's retired in the last few years was a good person for that job. Get their asses back. All right, let's kick it over to the next story here. And I will come back and read comments at the end. Hey, the super chats are open too, by the way. Anybody watching on YouTube will send a super chat. We take tips around here. Just saying. The hoodie I got on is available at buyfafo.com. The new batch will be in this week and hopefully will ship by the weekend. So excited about that. All right, now I'm going to surprise some of y'all. I bet a lot of y'all just think because I'm conservative that I'm ultra right-wing and I just agree with anything religious, free speech oriented, etc. Oh, I bet when some of y'all saw this Supreme Court to hear Mississippi street preachers case and y'all thought to yourselves, well, Clay Edwards just agrees with those rude street preachers. Contraire move frere. I have been very outspoken against these guys for as long as I've had a platform to be outspoken against these guys, and probably not for why you think. Unless you read my Facebook post before watching this video. All right, man, I'm feeling better than I thought I would. I hadn't run out of breath. Well, we'll just play the video. It's like 2 minutes long. We'll play the video, and then I'll give you all my opinions on it. This is about the Mississippi street preachers that got arrested out here in Brandon at the amphitheater for harassing people.
Evangelist Gabriel Olivier is now hoping that the Supreme Court will allow him to move ahead with his religious speech lawsuit after he was banned from preaching outside an amphitheater. Just outside this amphitheater in Brandon, Mississippi, Gabriel Olivier used to preach on the street.
And so on nights of events, he can catch a substantial number of people with whom he can share his message.
But not anymore. Now Olivier is barred from evangelizing next to it after the city passed an ordinance that says he can only protest in a certain area, away from the amphitheater.
He wasn't happy about that, so when he was sent over there, he came back, and he was actually arrested and charged with violating this ordinance and pled no contest and had a suspended 10-day sentence, so did not actually serve any time in jail.
The city said the ordinance was passed after Olivier and his group were shouting insults at concertgoers, holding signs that showed aborted fetuses, and taking police away from traffic posts to break up fights. So Olivier filed a lawsuit saying the city's rule violated his religious and free speech rights. But the lower court said he couldn't challenge the law because of a Supreme Court precedent he sued under, known as Section 1983.
It's sort of a catch-all statute that allows you to sue the government or government officials when they violate your constitutional rights. But the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals held that he was prevented from using that statute, that he cannot use Section 1983 to challenge this ordinance because he has already been convicted under it.
Now Olivier is asking the nation's highest court to clear up their decision in a previous case and decide whether lawsuits like his can move forward.
I think what the U.S. Supreme Court did in taking this case is really recognizing that this could be an issue far broader than Mr. Olivier, that you can have a lot of other individuals where this type of application could prevent them from being able to exercise their constitutional rights.
In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
All right, so let me clear the screen. Get y'all's comments back up. So bullshit. First and foremost, bullshit. Damn it. All right, sorry that y'all couldn't hear it, but it was blaring in my damn ear. That same commercial again. They're not street preaching. They're hate speeching, and I hate that term, hate speech. Because who defines what's hate speech? You know, I think the Supreme Court years ago tried to define what pornography was. And they said, while we can't give you an exact definition of what pornography is, you know it when you see it. And that's how I feel about hate speech, like true hate speech. Or the term I prefer to use is fighting words. Y'all know what fighting words are. Like there's a line of demarcation. And Junk Picayune, my brother from another mother, that's the biggest super chat I've ever gotten. Thank you so much. We're gonna leave that up on the screen while I ran here. Let that be an encouragement for the rest of y'all. I'd be much appreciated. The tip jar is open. Y'all know what fighting words are. And if somebody walks up and says something about your mother, then fighting words. Somebody calls you a bitch as a man, then fighting words. All of ours are different, but I'm sure we got a bunch that are the same. And these guys were shouting fighting words at women, at men, but especially at women. Calling them, they some lame ass term, calling them Jezebels, drunkards. Where's it at right here? Well, I had it in the WAPT article. I got the WLBT article pulled up because I like the way their website format's better. But let me see real quick on the WAPT one. But it doesn't matter. honestly. They've been doing this for years. Now, is it the same exact people? I don't know. It's that church in the wilderness out of Jackson. They're one of the ones that do it. But going all the way back to my Club 105 days, and I see a shout out in the comments here from Johnny saying, what up, Capital 105? What up, brother? Going back to the Club 105 days, those guys would come and set up on the corner of my club and with a literal milk crate, a soapbox. And they would just, they would have their script and they would shout whatever was on their script. And I would calmly, believe it or not, just try to be like, hey, guy, you mind on stepping down? Let's have a conversation. Talk to me. You're going to repent. You're going to hell. You're a drunkard. You're a Jezebel. It's the same rinse, wash, repeat bullshit. That's not bringing anybody closer to Christ. It's pushing people further away. And I've seen it so many times. So and then you've seen them out in Fondren. Now, I didn't disagree with them protesting at the abortion clinic because some of our beliefs are aligned. And it's a complicated relationship, right? But I don't have to agree with everything you say. Just like I don't ask anybody that is a supporter of mine to agree with everything I say. I tell you that if you tell me you agree with me 100%, you're probably lying. And that's okay. But we can disagree and still be friends. Like 51% is like my number. I can agree with you just more than half the time. We cool. And these guys will go out to Fondren and stuff and shout at people that are on the patios eating with their families. Like, does a child deserve to hear that? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I know not. Not just sitting on a patio eating with their families. Now, if you're trying to drag your child into a drag queen story time or a all-age drag show, shout away. Go use your free speech for that. And I guess that's me being a hypocrite, picking and choosing where I think it's okay, and I'll accept that. But I think most of us can agree that a child doesn't need to be going in and seeing anything sexual. Not a LGBTQ show, not a regular strip club. I don't want to see a 10-year-old child being taken into Danny's no more than I want to see them taken into a gay bar. We don't need to be exposing children to anything sexualized, period. And if you think that that's a good idea on any level, you need to be put on a list, a watch list. But my point being, what I'm working towards here, these guys are trying to push people to punch them in the face so they can file charges, sue, and then play the victim. They have a history of it. Now, I don't know. I'm not speaking on this exact fella, but I do know what he was doing out here in the amphitheater because I've seen it with my own eyes. He's harassing people. And one of the people in his group, because I don't know that there were that many different groups doing this, started attacking this little lesbian girl, a little stud. I mean, she was definitely a lesbian. I mean, there wasn't no doubt about it. But that didn't matter. They just saw her and started telling she was going to hell. And she was a lesbian, gay, and all that Westboro Baptist Church kind of bullshit. And that's not... I try my best not to talk about faith and quote Bible scripture and all that. That's not my lane. I'm a Christian, but I understand that I blur the lines. So I try not to be that hypocrite. My relationship with God is my personal relationship with God. But in no version of that, do I think you pick random people walking down the street and start cussing them out and telling them they're going to hell without even knowing anything about them. You just look at them and say, gay, you're going to hell. Well, maybe she's not. I mean, she looks it. I mean, stereotypes exist for a reason. I'll give you that. But again, fighting words. You remove the religious side of fighting words. Some things you just don't do. It's like these these First Amendment auditors They don't care about the First Amendment. They're out here trying to get a rise out of people, trying to get clicks and views on the internet. You know, trying to get attacked and annoy somebody so bad that they push them into attacking them. It happened down at the Capitol, at the governor's mansion recently. One of these chumps went down there and pushed a highway patrol trooper to the point of attacking him. Now, he didn't actually punch him or anything, but he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, the guy showed him what he was going to do. Oh my God, you attacked me. Well, don't ask a grown ass man what he's going to do. And then throw a fit when he shows you. I mean, not to be that guy, but F around, find out. Justin, thank you. I am definitely doing better. Just exhaustion, man. I went to the doctor. I tested negative for everything, but just couldn't talk for more than about 10 words without losing my breath. And I do a lot of cardio. I work out every day. I ain't worked out since Wednesday. No, since Thursday now, because I've been dealing with stuff. But anyway. Johnny says, oh, Hebrew Israelites. Very similar. Very similar. I was trying to pull the story up there on WAPT. Here it is right here. I want to just get to the bottom here and just kind of quote. Here's what they were yelling. It says the city of Brandon says the restrictions aren't about religious speech, but rather about limiting disturbances caused by Olivier and his group yelled insults like Jezebel, nasty, and drunkards at people passing by. Now, does that sound like the word of God to y'all? Yeah, man, I just go back to fighting words. Those are fighting words. And I think Brandon did the right thing because they said they're supposed to be coordinating traffic, but they're having to break up fights that these people are starting. They're using fighting words to get punched so they can sue. This has nothing to do with recruiting people to church. And I had a conversation with one of my buddies at the radio station who is a big supporter of these guys and was sharing stuff on Facebook about, man, I'm praying for you guys. And I sent him a message. I said, hey, bro, me and you were on different sides on this one. And I asked him to come on my show and let's talk about it tomorrow, but he had something going on. And that's fine. I'm not trying to call him out. But I was like, I just wanted to educate him on what's going on. I was like, these guys have been terrorizing people for a while. And I just think there's a fine line in freedom of speech, and you have your freedom of speech. You do not have your freedom of consequences. You know, I can't take my gun in the Brandon Amphitheater. My Second Amendment is stomped on there. I don't like it, but I understand that, you know what? There's a lot of cops here. Nobody else can have their gun except the cops. And there's a lot of them here. I just have to trust that I'm safe when I'm there. And, you know, I don't like it. And I'm not one of these people who trades safety for, what is it? If you trade freedom for safety, you deserve neither. You know, I'm not doing that, but I'm just kind of asking Jesus to take the wheel for 4 hours while I'm at a concert and hope that nothing happens. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to forfeit. I'm not going to be so scared that I don't go. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Same thing with First Amendment there. I just understand, like, okay, yes, I have my First Amendment, but I also understand that there's a line where my First Amendment, it doesn't allow me to cuss you out without consequences. I hope y'all are hearing what I'm saying here. Hope we're on the same page. Yeah, you know, Roger, you make a great point. It says, that's what the moron in Pearl is doing. I don't want to say his name to give him any kind of fame. Yeah, look, the Foot Locker idiots, they're doing the same thing. You know, they're pushing people to try to assault them so they can sue. I mean, y'all think I'm worried about them guys? One of those guys has allegedly has a heart attack every time the police touch him. He filed charges on a little old lady for swatting him with a piece of paper, telling him to stand up during the national anthem when they were at a city hall meeting. He were punch an old man in the chest, a senior citizen in the chest, press charges on an old lady for swatting you with paper. You have a medical emergency every time the police touch you. Brother, I'm like a diamond. I shine under pressure. I don't have heart attacks. Definitely not worried about him. Clowns, man. But that's what they do. They just try to push people. It's like, caught me slipping. Okay, what do you want to do? You just want to film? Just want to talk on the internet? Call me a bitch? Call me a racist? And then the thing that I heard the most about the people that agreed with him after all that video was, he tried to shake your hand. That motherfucker don't get to determine the rules of engagement after he called me all these things and spoke to me like that. Hollered all them fighting words at me. He's just lucky I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to get sued. I knew what he was doing. I'm not an idiot. I may come across like one sometimes, but I know the hustle. I know clowns like that. Like Roger just said in the comments there, looking for a quick payout. You know, do it in a gas station that's got insurance, got liability insurance. Somebody gets attacked in there. They've probably got a minimum $1 million general liability. I know I did when I had my place to cover stuff just like that. Because the insurance just settles to not have to go to court. Here's $100,000. Just, we don't want to go to court. Of course, in Rankin County, they'll sometimes just go to court because these juries out here aren't like the ones in Hinds County. Hinds County, they just settle. That's what they're trying to do. If they tell you anything more, they're lying. And those two jackasses with their Foot Locker jerseys on and the other 2 or 3 buddies they got with them kind of rotate out. They've created these characters, these trying to be civil rights icons when they're clowns. They've done nothing to fight civil rights. They've created these characters and trying to act like they're standing up to all this stuff and standing up to racism and corruption and all this. And they want everybody to think they're these badasses. But at some point, you're going to have to prove, is that a character? Or are you just playing is that a character, or are you really who you're pretending to be? Because at some point, the rubber's going to hit the road. So, somebody who doesn't understand the game they're playing, like some of these boys down in Scott County they're fucking with, are going to end this. And somebody's going to end up dead, and somebody's going to end up in jail. I ain't going to be on either end of that. They can talk about me all they want. I don't even like replying or talking about it because it brings them more attention than they have the ability to get. I got more followers than them and all their buddies combined times 2. Probably more than that. Me talking about it gives them more attention than they deserve. But sometimes things are just so stupid, you got to talk about it. Like look, I know everybody wants to know, Clay, they're interviewing your ex-wife. Allegedly. I'll be shocked if she does it. If she's sober, if they can find her sober long enough to do it, I'll be shocked. And I'll just say this. I kind of like the fact that I've reached a level of fame. Let me put my my name back up on the screen there. Is it on there? Well, anyway, it's fun to know that I've reached a level of fame that random people on the internet are curious what my ex-wife that I haven't spoken to in almost 4 years has to say about me. So kudos to myself for reaching a level of fame where the TMZ of Jackson wants to interview my ex-wife in some hope to find out something about me. Let me guess the questions. Is Clay a racist? Did Clay ever hit you? and any other dumb shit along those lines. So, look, shit. We're talking about the same person who uses an AI generated photo of herself as her main image when she looks nothing like that. I got her most recent mugshot from a couple of weeks ago when she got arrested for petty larceny. She looks about 100 pounds heavier in that mugshot than she does in that other picture. So I'm just saying, just be careful who you trust saying anything. If they can't be honest enough to use their real photo on Facebook of what they actually look like, not a AI generated photo of what they wish they look like, I don't know if that's a very honest person that you want to be banking your reputation on. Because I'm gonna tell you, if one lie gets told, I've already got my lawyer on standby. He's gonna be watching it with me. And I don't like suing, nothing like that, but I will make a point. So, hey, look, I encourage it. Do it. I love the attention. I love it. So, but just make sure that we're speaking in truths. Because now you are, see, it's one thing to make accusations. It's another thing to interview somebody and intentionally platform a lie. Because I mean, I've learned as a radio host that if I have somebody on my show and they tell a lie about somebody else, I am liable for allowing them to come on. So just remember that. Just remember that. Let's see here. Junk says, you speak in common sense. The Democrats and Republicans hate that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Les says they are racist. Yes, they are. Little Nicky, he was definitely trying to entice you to put your hands on him. Oh, yeah. Yeah, then the audacity to try to shake my hand like he had determined that it was all good at that point. After he realized I wasn't no punk. It ain't all good. We ain't never going to be cool. But I will tell y'all this because I'd rather you hear it come out of my mouth. I did extend. So Miss Angela Buckner that has the Mike magazine, we're friendly. And she's very friendly with them, which should be a red flag for me. But, she's always been cool with me. So it is what it is. I don't tell people who they can and can't be friends with. I reached out to her the other day. I said, man, what is their end game? I mean, do they have an end game or is it just fight forever? Because I don't have the energy to just fight with two jackasses forever. Like, what is the end game? What do they want out of this? And she happened, of course, she was with them, when I asked this. And it was just immediately, we will come on the radio show and talk. No, I'm not whoring out my platform for that. No. So you can get on there and cuss and raise hell and spew more of your bullshit. You go start a radio show. But then the second I opened up social media after that, I realized that they had made that post announcing they had my ex-wife coming on. So, but I think it's funny. You got the Leon clown running around here talking about all these cases that he's beaten. I beat all them cases. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're appealing one that you're fixing if you don't have the $1,300 or whatever it is for the bond on December 18th, you're going to jail for 4 months. That's not, last time I checked, if you got to go to jail for 4 months, you didn't beat the case. I did. There's a part of me that thought about going, because somebody said he had to start a GoFundMe, try to come up with the $1,300 for the appeal bond. I thought about paying it so I would be in control of him while he was out on bond. And I still might do it. Oh, wouldn't that fuck him up? Clay Edwards goes and pays the appeal bond. And he goes, first off, I got $1,300. If I went to jail, I don't have to start a GoFundMe. I work. I don't claim to have PTSD from my encounters with law enforcement, because I don't have encounters with law enforcement because I'm not a fucking idiot. Anyway, I wanted that was what I wanted to get off my chest, because I everybody and their mother has sent me the screenshots about them interviewing my ex-wife. I don't care. I find it wildly complimentary that you think enough of me, that y'all are so obsessed with me that you want to interview my ex-wife. But she better tell it all, because I'm going to tell what she doesn't. I'm going to tell what she doesn't. She spent a lot of time in rehab that last year of our marriage. And that's the reason it was the last year of our marriage. And a lot of ugly things happened in that house from her. A lot of nasty things. I'll just say, shit had to be cleaned off a wall, and a couch had to be steam cleaned because somebody couldn't care to get up off of it. And it wasn't me. So there's, I'm just saying, glass houses, baby, glass houses. And I'll say this too. I find it makes me very proud of myself that I know these guys have been looking under every rock they can to try to find out stuff about me. And the fact that they've been so unsuccessful that they've had to go all the way back to my alcoholic ex-wife that I haven't spoken to in almost 4 years to try to find out some dirt on me. It says a lot about how clean I've lived and how open I've been about my past mistakes, failures, addictions, and everything else. I've always decided early on into this that I would control that narrative. I never wanted to have to worry about somebody from my past that didn't like me dangling that over my head. Yeah, Clay, old Clay, I know something about you. That's why I tell y'all everything. I ain't gonna sit here and just run down the list. I've been running down the list for over 1,100 episodes of the Clay Edwards Show. You want to take the time and go find them in the podcasts, they're all there. So, anyway, that's all I got to say about that. So for anybody that thinks that I'm concerned about that, there's nothing she's going to say that I'm concerned about. Nothing she's going to say. I just find it comical that they're having to dig that deep to think they're going to find something out about me. But I hope it's on video, because I'm going to be amazed to see if she uses what she really looks like. Because that image that she's got floating out there, that ain't what she looks like. I wish it was. We might still be married if she looked like that. Unfortunately, she didn't. So, one of the things I like to talk about is culture rot. People think I'm just talking about the black community, and I'm not. Culture rot exists everywhere. America is experiencing culture rot. And we don't have the Kingfish over at Jackson Jambalaya. I didn't even plan on talking about this, but I stumbled across it when I was getting another story. Kingfish discovered some culture rot right over there at North Park Mall. And it just says a lot about the culture of Democrat majority areas. And it says, check out what's offered for sale at North Park Mall. Most of these items are displayed right by the children's ride area. You got a Christmas decoration here. Looks like a gift card of some sort, maybe a Christmas ornament. And it's a gingerbread man shaped like a dick, and it says, "Eat me." Right there for kids and everybody to see. Yeah, I want to say, I want to highlight this this real quick from Mr. Dillagaff. He goes, imagine the low IQ mouth breathers drooling over her interview. I know. I saw a comment under, somebody sent me a screenshot of a comment under one of her pictures. I'm like, damn, she's hot. She looks too good for Clay. I'm like, only if that were true. Only if that were true. Little Nikki, I appreciate that comment. It says, your distant past is the least interesting part of the show. Thank you. I just like to put it out there because I don't want anybody else thinking they got something on me. You know what I mean? And I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm not that person anymore. This girl named Chelsea got mad at me the other day and we're going to talk about this. The girl named Chelsea got mad at me the other day for sharing that mug shot of that girl that was running, the black girl that was running for judge in Rankin County. I shared her mug shot and her arrest record in Pearl. So is this really somebody we want running for judge? And she made a comment. She goes, if y'all had known Clay 10 or 15 years ago, he was supported this kind of stuff. Yeah, no shit, bitch. I did. And I don't anymore. People change. Would you like for me to still be the same guy I was 10 or 15 years ago? I don't want to be the same guy I was 10 or 15 years ago. People grow up. Some of us, it takes a little while longer to realize that we need to. I was in my mid-30s when I decided I needed to grow up. But I did. And it took a long time. It took 10 years for me to like really, really grow up. Anyway, back to this over at North Park. So there's that fine Christmas decoration, Christmas ornament on a tree. How about the shirts hanging up inside? These are in the windows when you're walking through North Park Mall. Like you can see these. Here's a Christmas sweater that says jolly as fuck. Stocking stuffers, talking about the tits there. Are those fake tits? Are those mannequin tits pierced? Drink up, bitches. Now, look, I like these shirts. Now, if you need a ugly, a tacky Christmas sweater for a party, these are all great for that. I would order one. I would see these online. I would laugh. I would wear one to a party. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here, but this goes back to what we were saying about peddling sex to kids. Drag queen shows, strip clubs. Kids don't need to see that. Kids don't need to see this. No parent needs to have to explain to their child what any of this means while they're at the mall Christmas shopping or anything else. A jolly ass bitch. I'm a jolly ass bitch. It's just tacky. What does that say? Suicide solution. Anyway, then somebody comments, has Spencer's ever not been cheap, degenerate garbage? You know, it's not about Spencer's and something you sell inside the store. These are in the windows in the walkway, you know? So that's out at North Park. So if you're looking for a tacky Christmas sweater or something funny to hang on your tree, by all means, get out there and get it. I find the stuff hilarious. I just don't think it needs to be posted where kids can see it. I'm going to reply to a couple comments here. And I appreciate the comments. And Charles Boykin's like, no offense or disrespect intended, Clay. You're the bigger man. Take the high road. Hold your head up high. No time to worry about the past. We have all done things we are ashamed of, or for sure we're not proud of. Work towards the future. It's very bright for you. I have found it heals the soul to ask for forgiveness for what we have done, who we were in the past. Once you ask for forgiveness, it's on them. No, look, I've been saved since then. And look, I mean, I know I have a foul mouth and I do things that people would say are unchristian-like, and that's fine. You know, but generally speaking, what I do really only affects me. And people say, well, Clay, you made these videos about these people. I make videos about murderers and violent criminals and drug dealers. You know, and that's the part that I think gets lost a lot. And also, just at some point you have to kind of respond to stuff. Like I just wanted to put that out there. That's gonna be the only time I respond to this about them interviewing my ex-wife or any of their shenanigans. I think it's ridiculous. Of course, I'd prefer not having to deal with it, but I just want to throw it out there that be careful putting too much weight into anything she says, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know how she would remember anything based on the condition she was in. Really the whole damn marriage, but especially the last year. So, and yeah, look, I've been forgiven and I don't care. Now, that's the other thing. We highlight criminal behavior over here. This is a news at the end of the day, this is a news reaction site and platform. We take the news and we react to it. That's what we've been doing this whole show here, reacting to news stories. Well, most news stories are about criminals. So keep in mind, so all these people hate me so much because I highlight the foul behavior of criminals. And just like, to me, I'm glad that they hate me. I'm glad that they make these crazy posts about me because it lets me know what side they're on. And it goes back to Jackson having to institute a policy about not associating with drug dealers. Why do you have to make that policy? You know, so it's just no doubt. It's no wonder why those people don't like me because I'm talking about their people. These people associate with criminals and thugs, and they're most likely criminals and thugs themselves. You know, it's like, I say this all the time, and Black people are really bad about defending the worst of their community. Like a lot of these Blacks out here in Rankin County, they can't help themselves but to feel the need to defend the Pookies over in Jackson that they've never lived around, never spent any real time around. I have. I spent 42 years in that sumbitch, right around all of them. And they don't like that I talk about the crime and shit over there. They especially don't like when I talk about it over here. Where with white folks, for the most part, there's definitely some exceptions to the rule. Like that nut job that stalks me all the time, Natalie, and others that think it's racist for me to highlight the crime. I can't help but the news highlights the crime. I highlight the news. But for the most part, white folks, we don't make excuses for our Pookies. We say, lock them up, throw away the key. We don't deny that crime happens out here. It's how we react to it. It's how we enforce the law. You know, I know I say all this crap all the time, but it just never stops. Roger says, here's my question about the Jackson policy. Who is going to investigate this to make sure they are abiding the rules, and how are they going to prove anything? It's not. They're not going to be able to. I mean, paint me shocked if they figure out a way to. I mean, because they all live and die by the no snitching policy. So, I mean, who's going to snitch on them? The white liberals on the city council in Jackson are scared to death to do anything. They're not going to bring any attention to it because they don't want to be called racist. The Blacks ain't going, other than Kenneth Stokes, the Blacks ain't going to say anything because they're worried that may hurt their street cred and they won't get reelected. But it makes for a fun news story to talk about. But it's a big nothing sandwich at the end of the day. Big nothing sandwich. Yeah, Susan, I agree with you. Stokes probably has somebody in his sights. That would be my guess. Roger says they can't even keep enough employees to do any kind of maintenance in the city. No, I mean, look, maybe if somebody calls and reports something they can do an investigation, follow up, like, yep, you're associating with a drug dealer, you're fired. We'll see. But it was more, all that was more of just a way to attack Chokwe. And I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. All right, let's get to our last story here. Well, I was only going to go an hour, but we were an hour and 10 minutes in. Lane Kiffin got up during his LSU press conference and straight up lied. And I knew he lied before I heard it because I had just got through listening to the Pat McAfee show where he had interviewed Marty McGee, the ESPN reporter who had set up in Oxford and stalking Lane Kiffin for 3 or 4 days. He had interviewed Pat had interviewed Marty. And Marty has said in his interview about the way the whole thing went down where he chased Lane down and interviewed him at the airport, for those that haven't seen it. And he brought up a point that he said Oxford PD, but ended up being Highway Patrol. But Lane had gotten a police escort from his house to the airport. And I just thought to myself, man, that was really cool of the police department or law enforcement, whomever it was, to do that because they understood that it possibly could have been a chaotic scene of pissed off people. You know, I'm not saying that Ole Miss fans would try to run anybody off the road or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a powder keg waiting to explode. And you just never know. So, you know, maybe somebody sees them at a red light, throws something at the car, flips them off. Anything can happen. Police escort keeps it simple, protects everybody more so than Lane. Protects innocent bystanders, other cars, all that. Well, Lane, after I'd already heard that, because that just stuck out in my head, that was really cool of law enforcement to do that. Then a couple hours later, I hear the Lane press conference, and he says a car tried to run him off the road. I was like, that's bullshit. I just heard Marty McGee speak on you having a police escort. Now, I didn't say anything about this. I mean, I did in some private text messages to people, but I was talking with Kingfish last night, and we were talking about, he goes, don't say nothing else about it. I'm breaking a story in the morning. I was like, all right, I won't say nothing. Well, so here's Kingfish's story here, confirming what I said. And we got a little video from Sean Tyndall with the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. It says, so here's the rest of the story. Former Ole Miss head football coach Lane Kiffin claimed that Ole Miss fans tried to run him off the road as he and his son went to the airport Sunday to depart for his new job at LSU. However, as Paul Harvey would say, there is a rest of the story. Coach Kiffin, during a press conference at LSU Monday, quote, you're with your son and driving, and you got to call a cop that you know so they'll keep you because you personally know him because you were leaving the state, and you got to call him because you were driving your son and you have to turn around. People are like screaming at you, trying to run you off the road. You don't know what they're going to do. Man, that's a word salad. Kamala Harris would be proud of that. Anyway, says Department of Public Safety Commissioner Sean Tyndall disputed Coach Kiffin's account. He told this correspondent an MHP trooper escorted Coach Kiffin for the most of his route to the airport. He drove an unmarked vehicle while Coach Kiffin followed. The vehicle did not have a dash cam. The commissioner said the ride was uneventful. In other words, nothing happened. Jackson Jambalaya attempted to contact Oxford police and left a message. Commissioner Tyndall had something to say about the whole brouhaha on social media yesterday. And here is that video. Let me pull it up on X here so we can watch it a little bit better. Give me 1 second. Let me swap this out so you guys to see the volume up. All right, here we go. Here's Commissioner Tyndall kind of trolling Lane Kiffin.
talking about the language you get wrong. I want my driver's license.
Look, little girl, I already told you, you're too young to get a driver's license. Call me mean again, I can meet you inside. No, look, contrary to any rumors or any other allegations, there's been no incidences where our Highway Patrol state troopers were involved in any sort of accident trying to run Coach Kiffin off the road when he was leaving Oxford last weekend. He had a safe trip and he's on his way. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not even my dog. All right, y'all be safe.
I love the dog jab there because as we have found out, that damn whole juice dog wasn't even Lane's dog. The whole thing was just a thing to try to make Lane's image look better. Love dogs. Anyway, just wanted to button that story up. Lane could not have done a worse job on how to leave a job. I mean, he took all that goodwill he had. And I'm not saying Ole Miss fans would have took it any better if he had just been upfront about it. But we'll never know because he couldn't have done a worse job leaving town. And then, of course, you've had the screenshots come out of him chasing after co-eds, which I ain't got no problem with that. He's single. He likes young, as long as they're legal. He likes young girls. They like him. They're 21 and over. They're adults, whatever. And I don't do the younger girl thing. I have young daughters, 23, 25, 26. I just can't fathom being with anybody my daughter's ages. I just can't do it. So being a father of young girls, there's a line I can't. He's got a young daughter too, which makes it gross to me, but to each their own. It's legal. He'll have to reconcile that with himself. But, we're starting to find out that Ole Miss covered up a lot of Lane shenanigans. And good luck at LSU with that. Good luck at LSU with that. All right, man, let's check out a few of your comments here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I do need to go. I think I might bond old Leon out, just so I'll have to keep him in my messing with my camera here. I finally realized that I can control this camera. I see what I did. Looks like I'm slouching down in the chair, and I'm not. A little bit better. It's got this little lever on it. Not lever, but all right, there we go. Much better. Why wait to the end to fix it? But yeah, no, I'm not going to bond Leon out. I'm not. If he can't come up with $1,300 to stay out of jail, his ass deserves to go to jail. And but it would be fun, just to watch them try to come up with somehow to still make me look like the bad guy. But I got better things to do with $1,300. I almost bought some Guns N' Roses tickets today in Atlanta, and then I almost bought some Zach Bryan tickets today in Starkville, and concert tickets have just gotten too damn expensive. It was going to be $1,300 for 2 Guns N' Roses tickets, or it was going to be $666.66 for 2 Zach Bryan tickets and a parking pass, and I wasn't buying anything with that many sixes in it. And look, I do believe in some things, and I just wasn't paying $1,300 for 2 Guns N' Roses tickets for a baseball stadium show. So anyway, but it would be funny to do it, and who knows, maybe I'll change my mind on December 18th if he ain't got the money, but I doubt it. But it would be fun. It would be fun, and I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said a word about the ex-wife stuff because I've been holding that in for a while. And she put me up in that. Like I said, I hadn't talked to this girl in almost 4 years. Or however long it's been. And over 3. And she put me in that damn, are we dating the same guy group a few months ago or a month ago? Talking about Clay left his sick wife at her worst. You're damn right I did. You're damn right I did. Let me tell you something. Don't ever marry somebody you don't love. I was 42. I'd never been married. Me and her been dating, and I just decided, man, I guess this is it. I might as well get married. And I did. And let me tell you what happens when you marry somebody you don't love. When times get tough, you don't have that. You don't have that, whatever it is, that bond, that love, that give a fuck to want to ride out the bad with them when it gets bad. We got married in December of 19, then COVID hit in March of 20, and it just went to hell in a handbasket when she got stuck at home and up to her own devices. And I'll just say that. But, then when it did, then you got just a couple years of dealing with that and not working and everything and just being the one income family and nobody else putting in any effort, any work, anything, never getting out of their pajamas. I'm out. I'm just not going to do that. I can't stand. It's one thing I can't stand is a lazy motherfucker. Can't stand it. I am attracted to women that have career goals that are driven. I mean, I'm not one of these guys that think the women belong at home and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, if you can stay home and be a full-time mom, that's great. If you have really young kids, first few years of a kid's life, do they old enough to get in elementary school anyway? I don't believe in sending kids to daycare, maybe a couple of days a week. I do think they need to be around other kids, but they don't need to be stuck at their mama's ass all the time, because when they go to first grade, they need to have some experience in getting away from their kid. But anyway, I hope to never have to go through that again. But I am drawn towards women who have goals and like to work and make money and all that stuff. I don't mind splitting bills and paying for things and buying things. It ain't even so much about the money, but I've learned that women who are busy have less drama. Women who are busy don't make mountains out of molehills. They want to actually come home and, do stuff and hang out and talk about their day. I got a pretty loose schedule. I don't mind cooking dinner. I don't need you to do all that stuff. I just need you to do your part. You don't get to sit at home all day, not do shit, not have dinner ready, not clean, not do anything. Just be drunk all day. Nobody's going to stick around for that long. And then you throw in the absolute depths of hell that came from all that. And, I just don't want to get into all that, but I will get into all of it if she goes on that show. Or what, I don't know, they don't have a show, but if she goes and does it, expect to find out everything that I've been holding in for 4 years. Because I will have no problem uncorking. Got no problem uncorking. So, was I going anywhere with that? I guess not. I was just saying, it's the reason I ignore most of this stuff, because once I unignore it and I start talking, it's just diarrhea of the mouth. And I don't like giving them, that's what they want. They don't get no attention unless they get it from me. Again, I got over a quarter million followers across social media. How many they got? A couple thousand? I'm like Tupac. Bitch, I can make you famous. And that's what they want. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I will. All right, man. That's been fun. Y'all text Clay to 601-800-5130. Let me show y'all something. I want to show y'all how bad that marriage was. This should be a good. The photo on the left was me at the end of that marriage. I gained a lot of weight living in that hell house with her. This is me on the right currently. Still not perfect by no stretch of the imagination, but an entirely different human being. Entirely different human being. That's what living with an alcoholic for a couple of years. I looked like that before her and I got married. By the end of our marriage, I looked like that. And I decided I didn't want to look like that no more. And that's when I started putting in the work to look like that again. And that is what I look like today. So It's a little older period, another variation of that. But anyway, that is what a unhealthy marriage will do to a man, is it will break him down and almost kill him. And then, Lord willing, he will pull us out from those depths of hell, and we will see the light, and we will fix ourselves. And that's what I did. Roger says most of their followers are part-timers because most are in and out of jail. Oh, that's 100% accurate. 100% accurate. I say it'll be funny to see if they can even come up with the $1,300. See here, just got a text here. So they're announcing now, because they're probably watching this video. Says the interview with my ex-wife will be Saturday, and they're asking what questions they should ask. So, has he ever said the N-word? Has he ever beat you? Does Clay do drugs? I mean, I can't fathom what interesting they would like to know. She's going to take credit for starting Save Jackson. I've heard that one. Again, I'll address all this when we get to it. I don't want to ruin anything because I'm going to do my own watch along, I'm sure, and debunk it, respond to it. What do they call it? Reaction video. I'll do my own reaction video. Of course, I will steal their video and play it because I'm going to make the money from it. I'm not going to let them make the money or get the views from it. I will do that just like I did with the slipping video. Screen recorded it, loaded it up, and I made over $500 off that video and nearly 1 million views and all the engagement. I know how to play the game over here. I know how to play the game. That video got me a ton of followers. Sold a bunch of shirts. All right. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning on the radio, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 103.9 FM. Don't forget, text Clay. And if you've been in a miserable marriage and it's got you looking like the guy on the left, and you want to look like the guy on the right, or better, I hope, text Clay to 601-800-5130. 601-800-5130. Screenshot the screen right now. There it is. Free testosterone screening for Men's Health in Mississippi. And get a head start. Go get tested this week, next week. Be on your testosterone within a week. And by January 1st, it's pumping through your veins. You're 2-3 weeks into your injections. And you are hitting the ground running for a new year, new you in January. Y'all be blessed. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning right here, wherever you're watching on a live stream or on the radio, 103.9 FM, WYAB, The Clay Edwards Show, episode 1111 tomorrow. Peace.